My name is William Keith Speer. I've lived here on death row for 22 years almost and been incarcerated for almost 33. When I stop and I think about Mr. Collins and I think about Mr. Dickerson, I begin to think about the things that I've robbed them of, the things that I've stolen from them. People are growing up, having children, missing a grandfather, missing a brother, missing an uncle, missing a family member that's not there because of what I did. And that is what, man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I could never do enough because the value of the lives that have been lost can never be replaced. I look in the mirror every day and I remember where I came from and I remember what got me where I am today. And it's those experiences that drive me, to push me, to want to do more here, right now.
Big Will, by his mannerisms, by his character, is making an impact in the culture back here, in the atmosphere. He has allowed us to revisit our humanity in a matter of grace and peace. That has been one of the major banners of Big Will, is grace.
My purpose is to serve them. My purpose is to be a mentor, to be a leader to them, to show them not only through the classes that they're going to be going, the things that I've already experienced, but to help show them through example of leading. Hey, this is the way we do it. This is how change happens in our life.
The guys in prison know his past, and now they see what he's become. And you know, as a leader in the faith-based initiative, and the way he's able to articulate for people how to improve themselves. He has such capabilities to help other people.
Big Will, much like his stature, is a very big presence in our community. His absence, just the fact that he has a date right now, is affecting the community at large. There's no doubts about that.
My cousin, by blood, but more my brother. We only relied on each other. We only had each other to rely on. Because if anybody else found out, we were the ones that were going to get in trouble ultimately anyway for speaking on it.
Will's level of just being rejected, unwanted, abused was just so severe. He basically came out of his childhood with no self-esteem, no sense of self-worth. Will talks about his father pressuring him to allow him to inject methamphetamine. The father would slam or inject methamphetamine. He was giving Will cocaine, giving him these small amounts of meth, wanting again to inject him with meth, giving him marijuana. And the father beat Will horrendously, extremely severely. He pummeled him in the face with his fists, kicked him.
I remember my dad beating my mom. I remember him throwing her downstairs I really feared my father because of how violent he was, and how he treated her, and that treatment spilled over into her relationship with Randy.
His stepfather, Randy, killed his mother, Nancy, back in 2007.
He would be punished relentlessly by Randy.
Yeah, I remember Randy burning Keith with cigarettes on his arms. He'd come to school with burn marks on his arms.
One time, he had a really bad bruise on his back, most of his back, and it was because Randy had stomped on him. I mean, I don't really know what to say to that. Like, how do you stomp on a child's back?
Will was sexually abused when Will was, I believe, 9 or 10 by a boy, a teenager who was 16. And this was on something that occurred on many occasions and was essentially, I think, a sign both of Will's profoundly damaged self-image, self-esteem, and his neediness. I think this older boy recognized that here was a neglected child desperately in need of attention.
Yeah, I don't think Keith had a positive influence growing up. I can't, not that I can recall. I don't think he had a positive influence growing up at all.
He didn't have the internal strengths that he could rely on, and without either of those sets of things, either internal or external support mechanisms, a child is gonna be in trouble.
I do believe Keith would have been highly suggestible by anybody that he would have felt would have been his friend or taken interest in him at all, because everywhere he went, they were hurting him.
That's the backdrop that we need to have in terms of understanding why someone would do this bizarre and utterly pointless and obviously tragic thing. He goes to the Harris County Jail where he's certified to stand trial as an adult. We just have to step back and try to imagine what it would be like to be 16 years old and go into not a juvenile jail, not juvenile detention, but a serious, hardcore adult jail, an adult tank, as they call it.
At the time, Harris County Jail was way overcrowded. You had guys literally sleeping on the floor, on mats on the floor. I mean, he was still a kid. I mean, he didn't even know how to be a man. They moved him into our tank. It was considered called the gladiator tank, where young guys 21 and under were housed. And that's why I met Will Spears. And I remember guys standing over him, pretending to be masturbating. And when they cut his boxes open, they would squeeze lotion into the crack of his butt and pretend that they're masturbating on him. So when he woke up, he's thinking, these men have violated me.
He had to have been living in a turmoil within his own head, because basically he has just lived to survive to that point and had no one really to help protect him.
You know, you just had a strong face, and you go in the day room and try to put the facade on and be as tough as you possibly could. Many nights I go in my cell and face the wall and cry.
Then into an adult prison. He went in with that fear, with that expectation, and that resolve that he was going to do anything to avoid being raped in prison.
I know there was riots. I know there was killings. I know there was stabbings.
He was in a really brutal fight where he got bitten and scratched all over his chest and abdomen, and had a chunk of his ear bitten off. He gets taken to the hospital in Galveston, and he spends almost a month there with some pretty major surgeries.
You know, basically, if you couldn't fight and you didn't have any commissary money, you had to join one of these prison gangs, and these prison gangs would protect you.
His entire adolescence, or most of it, has been behind bars. That's where Will Speer has developed his sense of identity, his values and principles, and we need to look at what those are. These are the values and principles of prisons and of some pretty violent individuals and gangs in prison.
Sitting on Texas death row, I had the thoughts of suicide. I wanted people to stop hurting because of me, because of my actions.
This is a change. Man, he is no longer that gullible child. He's a man that stands with God firmly.
The earlier ethos of prison has been replaced by this principle and ethos of living a righteous life as a man of integrity.
This is a place where a lot of people are scared to tell each other they love you. You know, I have a sign on my door that says hug life, because that's what I want to be. I want to be about that, you know, doing the Hug-a-Thug program, you know, giving hugs, man, you know, showing that love, taking this place where we are, that we're showing that kindness, showing that love, would normally be frowned upon.
Keith had the chance to find out truly who he is. He's been baptized. I was so scared for his soul. It means everything to me that he did this.
The gifts that I've been given through this new administration, through the new programs, that the directors and the chaplaincy, all these things are opening up new doors that we never had before. The respect, the love, the tools, the self-worth. I think it was these programs that got me to a point to where I was looking past the negative, not being the victim anymore, but taking the responsibility for my actions. These things have changed my life.
I remember years ago when we began talking about where the field mission's going to go when they graduate. They said we would never go to death row. They said that was impossible. So now when I go back there every day, you know, and I see these men who have been sentenced to death, it's a reminder of God doing the impossible.
He really hit the ground with those courses and really was ingesting them. He's been a vanguard in showing us the embodiment of these programs, what it means to be transparent, what it means to take accountability.
He's much more now of a leader than a follower. He's embraced it, and he's making things happen.
Will is far more open and forthcoming now than he was 4 years ago. He's far more introspective, insightful, reflective than he was. And probably most strikingly, he is racked with guilt and remorse about his actions.
I am so aware of the things that I've done. I'm so aware of the pain and the hurt that I've caused. I could just say I'm sorry.
Obviously, it's not unusual for people in jail, people in prison to find God, to find religion. And I understand that that's something that is often met with skepticism. I found Will's approach to it and how he spoke of it very different than most of the men that I've come across. He would speak of his faith as very much a source of stability and very personal inside him.
He is so happy, so genuinely happy. I hear it in his voice to spread the word, to say, look, I sit here today on death row, but I'm still going to teach you the word so you can change your life.
Listening to Penn BC, Penitentiary Broadcasting Corporation.
Sitting in these cells and looking around and seeing what my life, what my decisions have brought. And I reached that point one day, man. I said, man, my choices aren't the right choices anymore. And I want to make the right choice. And I just asked God, man, hey, you take it all. Y'all brothers out there, y'all guys that you're on the fence or whatever it is that you're dealing with, hey, man, God's there. He will meet you where you are.
I've never seen people get rehabilitated like what this program offers. When a field minister starts to work with somebody in an intimate way, that person is a changed person. You no longer have to threaten them into doing the right thing. They're doing the right thing for all the right reasons.
It was the field ministers that brought me to the situation of saying, hey man, I want to rededicate my life back to God. I want to be a part of that because I know what they've done in my life, and I want to be a part of helping someone else. I want to be a part of helping that other person, that other individual who was just as lost as I was.
One of the wonderful things I love about Big Will is that he has this way of bridging people together, where he sees a conflict or maybe something's not going the way it should. He knows how to speak with people. He knows how to reach them.
Those field ministers, they're changing the culture. They're changing the climate. They're creating safe environments for our correctional staff. The general public is going to benefit as a byproduct from that. So we're all in this together.
Nobody's entitled to any of this. I'm appealing in this opportunity to give more, to give back. Not because I've done something and I've become entitled to a different change. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I am asking is for the opportunity to be able to give the love that I've been given.
I do believe in the death penalty. I do believe there are people among us that are not safe to be among the general public. But I do not believe Keith was one of those individuals.
As a man who spent 30 years in prison, as a man that was convicted of murder, somebody believed in me. My judge said that I would die in prison. I'd never get out of prison. I got an opportunity to come out of prison and make a difference out here with my family and with people around me. I believe that if Will is given an opportunity to live, that every person that have a part to make this decision will be extremely proud.
He's a really good person, and he wants to do good for other people. And it's just a waste of a human life for him to be executed.
I make a plea to allow Big Will the opportunity to continue the work that he's doing right now. Whatever population that he's allowed to be a part of, I believe that Big Will be an agent of positive change.
My hope for Keith is that he gets a chance to help rehabilitate the other prisoners in the system. To say, look, I was your age when I walked in here, and I can help you if you will just let me. I still will hold Keith accountable for what he did. That will never change. But another thing that'll never change is my faith, my strength, and my love for Keith. William Keith Speer.
I mean, it all comes down to, is our world a better place with or without him? And it's a no-brainer. It's a better place with him. Period.